Welcome back. Today we're here to talk about the year 2000's X-Men. So, starting off with the plot and storyline, it was interesting to me. I can't say a lot happened in it, but it just to me this is a total world building movie. This movie was made to just build the world of X-Men. You just get to learn about the school for the mutants. You learn about the mutants versus the real world, and from someone who'd never seen X-Men before, this was very helpful to me to watch this because I knew nothing about the character. So, I was intrigued by the world of the movie.
I like that they didn't give every character a backstory.
Yeah, that would be
I'm kind of tired as far as superhero movies go of the origin story. It gets kind of old, and with these ones, you just don't get it. They're just like, hey, here's a ton of characters. They're all established. You know them all. Good luck. And so I liked that that's not what the plot was based off of, was the coming up of a mutant. I also, one thing that I like about X-Men in general is that it's very clearly a metaphor for racism.
Yeah.
And they didn't really hide that. It was pretty cool. The Fox logo, the X hangs out a little long. That makes me feel smart.
little cool thing that they did there.
No, but in all reality, I thought I think as a whole, the movie felt a little dry to me.
Yeah.
I felt I was a little bored through most of it. But that might be that I already know the X-Men story.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do because, for me, watching it for the first time and just learning about the world of X-Men, I was intrigued by what was happening. From a story standpoint, not a lot did happen. The story itself took a hit because of how much world building they were doing. The basic storyline is there's the people don't like mutants, so they're trying to pass a law to get them registered, I guess.
Right.
And there's this guy named Magneto that wants to show them that that's stupid by turning them into mutants, turning normal people into mutants. And then Charles Xavier, the guy that runs the X-Men school, wants to stop them.
Right.
That's the story.
Because he wasn't just trying to turn them. He was trying to turn them into mutants so that they would be better represented. Because he was trying to change the government, specifically officials, into mutants. But the thing is that the procedure was also dangerous, and it killed the only person that he had actually tested it on. And so it was just altogether not really going to work out. So yeah, the story was fine. I mean, I gave the plot a 3.5 out of 5 because there was a plot. It was intriguing enough. You can sum it up. It was always moving forward. It's just the movie felt dry to me. It felt boring.
It felt slow.
It felt there was just a lot of it felt like nothing. And we're going to talk about it in cinematics a little bit more, kind of why it feels that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt dry.
I agree. I gave it a 3.5. I was interested, but I recognized that I wasn't interested in the story. I was interested in the world that they were creating, and that's what this movie is for. So it's a 3.5. It's a good story. Like Ben said, it moves forward. It's interesting enough. It's just, it's not. I don't even know how to say this. It doesn't stand out at all because there's nothing to make it stand out. It's just building a world. So it was good. I enjoyed it. It's nothing special though.
I liked most of the acting in this movie. I really didn't have any issue with any of the acting in this movie. I really liked Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine. That is something that I continue to like through the rest of this series. You don't know that yet because you haven't seen the rest of this series, but I have, and I like Hugh Jackman. I really like Sir Patrick Stewart. Just in general, he's a cool guy, but also I really like him as Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
I think that he stands out in the role. Doesn't do a lot of standing, actually, but he's good. Yeah,
more impressive because he doesn't stand at all.
Right, yeah, no, but I like all of the characters well enough. I mean, some of it, especially the younger actors, you could tell that they were inexperienced in the acting field.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I liked the acting.
That's how I felt about it, too. I felt like Hugh Jackman stood out a lot. I really liked Sir Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. The rest of them felt like... Well, okay, here's the other thing I was going to say. You got, what's his name? Ian McKellen as Magneto.
I liked Ian McKellen as Magneto.
And
I know you didn't. But...
He's a good actor, and I recognize he's a very good actor, but he felt weirdly placed in this movie because he's a very old-fashioned actor. Yeah. I've seen him in movies like The Scarlet Pimpernel or in Lord of the Rings as Gandalf. Those he fits really well in because they've got that style. But X-Men is this futuristic superhero type of movie, and he felt a little weird to me in that role. He was good, it felt a little off. And the other thing I was going to say about the acting in general is just that a lot of it felt kind of dry. Like they were good. I didn't have any issues with anyone's specific performances, but they all seemed a little bit bored, with the exception of Hugh Jackman and what's his name?
Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart. Just because they didn't have most of the other X-Men didn't have anything to do other than just kind of stand there and look mildly concerned about what was happening around them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I also had the note that the acting was a little dry.
Yeah.
I liked the characters though.
Yeah,
and that's actually why I gave this as high as I did. So I gave the acting and characters a 4 because the character portion, I thought the character development was pretty good, despite the fact that they didn't have origin stories. I felt like I understood most of the characters, especially the main characters. Although I feel like some of the side characters were just like, okay, they're here, like Cyclops and Storm.
Yeah.
They were just kind of there. And some of their lines weren't fantastic, especially Storm's. But no, I thought that the characters were all pretty good. I also really liked that there was a moment, and this will come back through later movies, but I really like how powerless the Wolverine was compared to Magneto. Like when they're in the same room, there's no way Magneto's walking out of that okay. I mean, sorry, Wolverine. There's no way that Wolverine. There's no way that Wolverine is walking out of that okay. And in later movies, he starts to feel ridiculously overpowered. I feel like in this movie, he was like a well-balanced character where he was like very powerful because he could heal and had metal claws, but not like so powerful as you might see him in like The Wolverine, which you haven't seen.
I haven't seen. Yeah, I don't know, but
yeah, that's how I felt.
Yeah, no, I agree. I gave that acting and characters a 4 out of 5 because I did think it was really good and really strong. They just all seemed a little bit bored to me, with the exception of like the main characters. So it was good. It was just a little bit dry and a little wooden. And like Ben said earlier, sometimes it felt a little bit boring just because of the lack of energy that was coming from them. But overall, very good performances.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
As far as the action goes, I felt like the action had a lot of potential. Like the X-Men characters have a lot of potential. I like the idea of mutants with all these different abilities clashing and seeing how they do it. And the way that they did some of those scenes was really good. Yeah. What I will say is not all of it was. And the final battle in particular, I have a note here that it felt awkward. I don't know if it was because this background music wasn't very exhilarating or because the actors just didn't seem to know what to do with themselves. Like, there's a scene in particular where I think his name is Toad.
Oh, yeah.
He attacks, and then right after attack, he does this really weird random, like, jig, and then he attacks again. And I'm like, what was that? Like, a lot of it was just, like, it felt weird. The actors didn't seem to, like, know if they were supposed to be acting hurt or brave or, like, that final battle didn't work for me at all, but I liked the idea of it a lot.
Yeah. With the action, here's one of the things that I had to do the action. I didn't feel like there was enough of it throughout the movie. I think that's one of the reasons that the movie felt kind of boring to me, is because you had all of these characters that had these like amazing powers and gifts, and they weren't really using them that much.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like Magneto uses his powers to move one of those like physics machines. What are those called? Where the balls hit each other?
Yeah.
I don't remember what they're called. I might like put the word up on the screen and edit this. We'll see though.
Maybe.
No, but like he uses that. He like bends some bars. He stops some bullets. He shoots a gun. I mean, it's just like there's not. I just feel like they're not using their powers that much. I think you see Wolverine's claws like a total of like less than 10 times.
Yeah.
And I think you only see his wounds heal like twice. I just didn't feel like we saw that much of it. And then some of the action, like Eric said, they were like a little underdone. And then there's a couple of scenes, one in particular, I'll put the clip on the screen like right now, where the physics just don't make sense. And it was very noticeable to me, and I don't understand anything about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, I like the idea of the action. There were some scenes I did enjoy. I actually enjoyed it was very brief, but I did enjoy the cage fight between Wolverine and the random dude.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. And also sometimes when they were clashing, like the Wolverine versus Sabretooth was kind of interesting, and when Cyclops shoots, like the last thing that they do where Storm lifts Wolverine up to try to stop the machine, Magneto tries to stop, and then Cyclops shoots him, that was cool to me, even though it was short-lived. There were a couple things, like I said, it had a lot of potential to be really good, and I'm excited to see later X-Men movies, which I'm sure will be a lot more action-packed than this one was. So I gave the action a 3.5 just because I liked the idea of what they were doing. It didn't fully work for me. It wasn't bad, it just didn't fully work for me.
I gave it a 2.5. I feel like there wasn't enough, and also I feel like some of it was relatively inconsistent. I don't know why Jean Grey didn't use her telekinesis more. I thought that was a little weird. I thought it was weird that instead of her using telekinesis to make Wolverine fly up, they had Storm blow wind at him. I thought that was weird.
And she uses telekinesis like balancing.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I also thought, I mean, maybe she's not that powerful in this movie. I know she is in later movies. But the other thing about this particular movie, as like far as their powers go, was I didn't understand. Like, Cyclops was not scared enough, I guess. But like, why didn't she? Like, eventually she uses her telekinesis to give him his glasses back, so he can open his eyes again. I just don't know why she didn't use her telekinesis to give him his glasses back earlier.
I don't know, maybe she was afraid Magneto would do something to her if she did. He was standing right there.
I guess.
I have no idea. I don't really know.
Anyway, I gave it a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, 3.5. It was good.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm sorry. I needed a ride. Thought you might help me.
Get out.
Where am I supposed to go?
I don't know.
You don't know or you don't care.
Pick one.
I saved your life.
No, you didn't.
Okay, cinematically, this movie had some problems. The music choice was a little weird. My biggest issue with the cinematics was actually just the coloring.
Yeah.
The coloring of this movie, I think that one of the reasons that it feels so dry is because they take most of the red out of the movie. It's very, very cold. Lots and lots of blue color, not a lot of red color. It just feels cold. It's kind of like watching Batman Returns in that way.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's like my biggest issue with it. Honestly, I didn't hate the cinematics of this movie. They had some great things. Some of the shots were really beautiful. Some of the lines were great. But also some of the lines were really bad and some of the shots were really ugly. And so, I mean, I gave it a 3 myself. I felt like it was slightly above average, but I also felt like it had some problems.
Yeah, I did not enjoy this movie. Cinematically, I swear I struggled with this movie the most. Most of my problems, like Ben said, the coloring was off. I noticed that right in the beginning of the movie was weird. But also, the script was really bad a lot of times. Sometimes it was okay. But, like, a lot of the lines they had them say are just so bad, and they just did not sound like they'd be coming out of any actual mouth.
Yeah.
Like there's a line, this when Storm blows the Toad up with lightning, and she goes,
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
like, that's so not interesting to hear, and that's not something you would say. The other thing that really bothered me, and this is kind of a random one too, is there's a part where, like, they're trying to explain, the good guys are trying to explain to Magneto that, like, oh, you can't do this, we saw the person die, and he just leans forward and he goes very sinisterly,
You sure you saw what you saw?
and I'm like, why is that sinister? You could have said that, like, in a concern, like, are you sure? Or, like, you know, like...
Is he dead?
Yeah, but, like, no, he says it like it's a sinister, bad-a thing to say, and there's a lot of moments like that where I'm like, those lines needed a lot more work. So that's what really bugged me, and most of the movies, what was coming out of their mouths.
Yeah, like I said, there were some really bad lines like those.
Yeah.
I thought there was also some really good, like, poetic lines as well. I don't know if I'll be able to find any examples of that. I feel like the scene where the senator dies, there's like a touching moment with her and
There was,
Storm and the senator.
that was okay, and I also enjoyed some of the Wolverine's lines were really good.
Yeah, Wolverine's
was
funny.
Hugh Jackman did good with those, but even he had some bad ones. But that's writing though, so I just. You know, that's what drove me down mostly. And then, like Ben said, the score did not... I don't even remember how it sounded. It was weird.
And it didn't stand out. But,
like,
the final battle music especially was like, you sure?
Yeah, like, you're supposed to be getting us pumped, and we're not feeling pumped here. Yeah. So, yeah, I gave it a 2.5 just because, like, there was some decent stuff in there, but there was also stuff that just drove me crazy enough that I can't get it anything higher than a 2.5 cinematically.
Amen.
Traverse the rigid security.
As far as entertainment goes, like I said, from a first-timer's perspective, I was very entertained, mostly just because I was very intrigued about the world that they were building. I don't know how well I could watch this again and still be just as entertained as I was, because now that I understand X-Men a little bit better, especially after I watch the later ones, I feel like that's going to make this one kind of not age well for me. But from the first perspective, I've never seen any of the other ones. I was very entertained by this movie.
This movie I was not super entertained by. I was kind of bored throughout most of it. And I actually remember that from the second time that I watched it. This is the third time I've watched this movie, I think. And I remember the first time I watched it, I was mostly confused. I think I was a little too young for it, maybe. But then this time I watched it, I was just bored again. I think a lot of it's the coloring. It just feels dark and cold and dreary and kind of just boring. And there's not a lot of like action in it. And the plot is like moving forward, and it kind of feels like it's not moving forward very quickly. And, I just didn't find it particularly interesting. So I gave it a 2.5.
Yeah, we very differ, because I gave it a 4, because like I said, I'm not experienced with X-Men, so the world was intriguing to me, and I thought it had a lot of potential to go somewhere cool. Like I said, that might change as I watch more of the later movies and get more familiarized with X-Men, because I can see how this movie, because I already thought it was slow, and it felt long. Which isn't a good sign, because it's actually not even 2 hours long. I don't think. I think it's a little under 2 hours. But so that score might go down the longer time goes on. But having seen this for the first time, I was really entertained by it. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 on entertainment.
Right. So that brings my total to 3.3. And
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 total. So we're close. We gave it a 3.4 for the both of us, averaged out. So it's a good movie. Like if you've never seen it, I'd recommend you watch it. It's not great, but it's good.
It's a good setup movie.
Yeah, I agree
for the remainder of the universe. But it doesn't feel like a setup movie, which is something that I really like. Some movies, like Fantastic and Amazing Spider-Man 2, are setup movies for movies that I hope we never see. And so it doesn't feel like a setup movie. It feels like this was like an actual end goal, like it was an actual movie. It tells a story, and it's a good story, but it is a good setup movie for what comes next, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. So there you have it. X-Men 2000, 3.4 for the both of us. Good movie. Would recommend. Not fantastic or spectacular, but it's good. It's a good one. Now, tune in next week as we move on to some movie that really kind of shaped a lot of comic book movies for the next little bit, and that's going to be 2002's Spider-Man. So tune in next week to hear us talk about Spider-Man 2002.
I like Spider-Man.
See you later.